Welcome to BaseballGuys.com. I'm your host, Ray Flowers. Yes, for those of you that read My Tooth Hurts yesterday, my article from Wednesday, you'll realize that I did have some work done on the tooth, had a filling fixed. I'm obviously back in the game today, better than ever. Got a brand new mouth with some gold fillings in there. Don't quite have a platinum grill, but I'm ready to go. I'm also wearing my Sharks hat. We are approximately 30 minutes away from the drop of the pucking game before the Sharks go for the 4-game sweep of the Red Wings here in the second round of the playoffs. So I'm also supporting the Sharks. Back to the world of baseball. If you want to scroll down here on BaseballGuys.com and actually look at that article titled My Tooth Hurts, you'll see a little bit of a rundown yesterday on what I thought about Drew Stubbs. Now, the Reds came out today almost as if they'd read my article, came out today and said, look, Drew Stubbs isn't going to be demoted. He might be removed from the leadoff spot with our club, but we're going to let him work out his issues at the big league level. Again, go to My Tooth Hurts at BaseballGuys.com for a little bit more in-depth description of what my thoughts are on what the Reds should do with Drew Stubbs, as well as what should be expected from him in the fantasy game. Another leadoff spot at a different team is that with the Florida Marlins. What are the Marlins going to do? Well, they've been in a bit of trouble so far this year. They tried Chris Coghlan. He hasn't done very well there. They tried Cameron Maybin. He's been really struggling. There's now some talk they might turn to Emilio Bonifacio, who's down in the minor leagues and spent a lot of time in the leadoff spot last year for the club. Bottom line is those three guys, none of them really profile as an ideal leadoff hitter. All of them have some issues. Coughlin's probably the best fit there. He may not have the speed of the other two or the ability to wreak havoc on the base pass, but he's got the best approach. And even though he's really struggled to even hit his weight so far this year, he should bounce back and come out of this. Got a very disciplined and aggressive approach for such a young batter. Probably ideally suited for the number 2 spot, but he would be my choice, even with his struggles, at the leadoff spot for the Marlins. Jair Jurrjens goes to the DL. Now, we've talked about him all year long here at BaseballGuys.com. I warned people not to be too high on him, not to expect a repeat of that 2.60 ERA last year that was 3rd in the National League. He struggled when on the field this year. He's had some minor issues with his arm. Now he's got a groin issue that will cause him to be placed on the disabled list. Now, no one believes it's a long-term issue, but combining his poor effort so far and the injuries, you have to be growing very concerned if you're a Jurrjens owner. Now, the Braves will use Chris Medlin, at least for the first start, out of the rotation. Medlin's been a dominating strikeout pitcher in the minor leagues. He's also got a strikeout rate of about 9.8 during his brief big league career. Lots of upside there for those in NL leagues. If he's out on waivers, make sure you grab him. He could really take off here. We don't know if they're going to, keep him in the rotation long term. Once Jurrjens comes back, they might decide to remove Kawakami and give Medlin a chance. That may be a little bit far-fetched, but whether Medlin's pitching out of the bullpen or in the starting rotation, he figures to give you a lot of strikeouts and has a lot of upside. Our favorite word in the fantasy game. Juan Uribe is an everyday player. At least that's what the Giants are saying. Freddy Sanchez, who's been out all season with the shoulder issue, is a little under 2 weeks away from returning to the Giants lineup. Bruce Bochy came out today and said even when Freddy Sanchez is back, Juan Uribe is an everyday player. Now, does that mean the Giants envision Uribe seeing time at short, at third, at second base? Does that mean the Giants are now looking at Sanchez as a backup player? I have a hard time believing the Giants are going to pay $12 million the next 2 years to Sanchez to be a backup middle infielder. So it probably will be a situation where Uribe gets moved around. I think it's only going to be a situation where, hey, whoever's hot's in the lineup. And right now, the better hitter is Juan Uribe. Right now, the healthy hitter, even though he's had some struggles with his health, is Juan Uribe. So for the Giants to continue to roll with him, though again, not paying a lot of money to have Sanchez sit on the bench, and he still is a 300 career hitter, just about 300 career hitter, if he's healthy. Matt Garza, name that everyone knows in the fantasy game now. He leads the American League with 5 victories. His ERA is barely 2. He's striking out over 8 guys per 9 innings. Had a great start to the season for the Rays. Is he a top 10 pitcher? Well, I encourage everyone to go to rototimes.com and fanball.com to read an article. It's an impact report about Matt Garza where I break down everything about the guy. I'll give you a hint. I think he does deserve to be in the mix of those top 10 starting pitchers in the American League. What about Lance Berkman with the Astros? Lance Berkman has had a rough season. He's been injured, had the knee, the groin. Well, now he's come out and said, look, the Astros aren't necessarily going anywhere this year. I realize they've got to be in rebuilding mode. If they want to move me, I will waive my no-trade clause. Now, there's nothing imminent. That's not even certain if the team would take him up on the offer, but you got to think if we get in to June and they're still floundering under 500 there, that they might seriously consider moving Berkman to try to get some young players back in return. So keep an eye on the situation there in Houston. Another player who could be moved but won't be moved is Carlos Lee. Lee's owed, I think, $55 million the next 3 years, something like that. He's not going anywhere. Finally got a home run the other day, his first in 162 at-bats. I have no idea how Carlos Lee went 162 at-bats without a home run. look for him to continue to heat up, look for him to continue to be effective, and their general manager, Ed Wade, came out and said he still expects Lee to be a 100 RBI guy this season, even with that slow start. Finally, what's going on in the bullpen in Baltimore? No one really knows. Now, the good news is Mike Gonzalez's shoulder has done better. He's throwing on flat ground. He hasn't got up to a mound yet, but he's progressing in his recovery. He thinks he's about 3 weeks away from returning. I have to think when he returns, if he's healthy, he'll get a chance pretty quickly to pitch in that 9th inning once he proves, again, that that shoulder of his is healthy. You've got Alfredo Simon, who's taking over the role right now. He's been a little bit spotty himself. Not exactly the #1 guy in the organization that they would turn to at the closer spot, but they really don't have any better options at the moment. That is until Koji Uehara is coming off the disabled list. Now, is Uehara a better option than Simone in the 9th inning? Well, Koji had some work in Japan closing out games. He's an older pitcher. He's got a nice, stable skill set. Throws a lot of strikes, doesn't walk very many batters. I don't know if he necessarily profiles as a great end of the game option either. Not quite the guy he once was maybe 10 years ago when he had some more stuff. But he's a very good, solid option at late in the bullpen. And the team has also said, look, we're not going to be afraid to use him. If he earns the opportunity through his work on the hill, we won't be afraid to pitch him in the 9th inning. Still a fluid situation, but like I said this morning on our podcast at fanball.com, I still wouldn't be at all shocked if when it's all said and done, Mike Gonzalez ends up leading the Orioles in saves in 2010. Again, I'm Ray Flowers. It's BaseballGuys.com. Thanks for joining me. Go Sharks.